Earlier, we reported on charges filed against Brady Rarick for a string of indecent exposure incidents in Grand Forks. He's now also facing a gross misdemeanor charge of indecent exposure on the East Grand Forks side of the river from the same investigation. According to court documents, on June 16th, on the 2200 block of 8th Avenue Northwest in East Grand Forks, he exposed his genitals to a group of 3 female juveniles, one 12-year-old and 2 13-year-olds. For more background on all this, here's our earlier report from the Grand Forks side of the river.
Welcome to Inside Evil Interrogations, the channel where we break down suspect behavior, denial strategies, and interrogation dynamics through the lens of forensic psychology. In this 45-minute interrogation, Brady Christian Rarick faces questioning over a series of indecent exposure incidents involving multiple minors. Though he initially tries to play the part of a cooperative subject, his demeanor, language, and avoidance tactics reveal the psychological profile of a suspect in denial but aware of mounting evidence. Brady enters the interview room with mild anxiety but significant emotional control. He complies with formalities, listens carefully to his rights, and nods to most questions. This is common in suspects attempting to appear rational and reasonable. However, he immediately asks if he should have a lawyer, signaling internal anxiety and a latent understanding of the severity of the situation. He agrees to speak without counsel, a common mistake by guilty suspects attempting to maintain the illusion of innocence through transparency. Psychologically, this reflects controlled compliance. He wants to seem cooperative while staying ahead of the narrative. His demeanor is void of affect when police begin outlining multiple cases. He doesn't challenge the reports aggressively. Instead, he responds with calculated uncertainty. This is a soft denial tactic, neither confessing nor outright rejecting the events. Instead, he expresses doubt and passivity. I don't recall. I'd have to check. Not off the top of my head. These phrases allow for flexibility if further evidence arises.
Well, it's obviously a steel building, and it's metalled on the inside and outside and insulated and all sorts of stuff.
Where are you working at?
Northern Tier Steel Company.
Okay.
We're just building a little office. And
is that the one out by Thompson? Or
yep, the one's
just west?
Yeah, just across where I work at.
Okay.
I'm just going to hit record on this. Anything before we start recording you want to chat about? Questions? Concerns? Okay.
The obvious, should I have a lawyer?
Concerns? Yeah, that's totally up to you.
Okay.
I'm going to read you these rights real quick.
Okay.
You're not being arrested today.
Okay.
That was one of your questions.
That's it. Yeah, obvious. It's very new.
No matter what happens today, Brady, you're walking out the door tonight. So as far as an attorney goes, that's going to be completely on you.
Okay. And we've already kind of had the discussion and talked about all these individual cases. The purpose of this one is to see if you remembered anything.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of go through each one.
That's kind of put somewhat through text messages and pictures, and
so what we're hoping is that, we can remember these exact dates. So we'll go through each report. I brought them here. And like I said, you don't have to answer them. You can leave. That door's open. But I'm going to read you this real quick, verbatim from this card, just so we can say that it was done.
Super glue in there or what?
Yeah, it's tight. Let's start this recording. Detective Farmer with the Grand Forks Police Department. We're in the stop interview room of the Grand Forks Police Department with Brady Rarick and Detective Suey. This is in regards to, we'll go with case number 23103-787. And there's 3 other related IRs. The date today is July 6, 2023, and the time now is 14:55 hours. Brady, before we talk about anything or any of these dates, I just want to read you your Miranda warning verbatim from this card, okay? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to have an attorney and have them present while being questioned. If If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you prior to any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand each of these rights I just explained to you?
Yep.
Okay. And with these rights in mind, you want to go over these reports? Sure. Good. Okay, so we kind of talked in East Grand Forks last time. Most of that was in regards to that specific incident in Eastside, and then I let you know that you match the description of 4 incidences here in Grand Forks. And we talked about that. Refresh my memory. What Detective Sue, you know, you don't necessarily remember any of those things.
I didn't at the time, like, you were just giving me numbers, I guess.
Yeah, the dates and times.
Yep.
Okay. We kind of talked about if you did purposely expose yourself to somebody, you would probably remember that.
Sure.
You didn't remember that. You were gonna try to jog your memory somehow. Was that able to happen? What do you think?
What was the first one?
Okay. So she's go through them.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one was on, and you want a paper and pen?
I got it.
Okay,
I
you got
don't
it.
have a pen, but I have paper.
Sure, go. So on 5/10,
Okay.
May 10th, at 5:45 in the evening, it was reported that a couple days prior, a white male exposed himself, his penis.
A couple days prior.
Yeah, so no days. Yep, okay, 8th of May.
So that we have a rough time for that, because now Marty. I went over what happened, my whereabouts, what I was doing, 5:10, 5:45.
Okay, so you have that, man?
Yeah.
This one was, let's see, May 10th, this one was the day prior at the same time. So it would be on the 9th, about 5:45. Be about the same time.
Okay.
A white male in a pickup wearing a hat and glasses drove by with his penis exposed to a little girl.
And where?
This one was 1408, or 1400 block, not 1408, 1400 block of 15th Avenue South.
Okay.
Right? And we kind of talked about that area of town. We're familiar with that. Did you look that up on Google Maps or drive by or anything? Refresh your memory?
No, I guess, I didn't, we talked about it, but I didn't have, I just had a date at time.
Okay, so that one specifically was a male, 30s to 40s, wearing a gray hat, sunglasses, driving a gray pickup.
Okay.
Okay. So then the next one was 5/27, May 27th.
Yep.
At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or 2:04. It was reported that a male subject exposed his penis to 4 young females, ages 6 to 9, 700 block South 16th Street. And that was the one we talked about that's kind of behind the diamond.
Detective Farmer, do you have, like, vehicle descriptions for DPW too?
Yeah, that first one I mentioned was a gray pickup.
Yep.
Yep, and this one was also a gray pickup, dark gray pickup with black tires. Driver was described as being white male, 30-40, wearing a baseball cap, sunglasses.
And when was this incident?
This one was 5/27.
Got day and time?
Yep, I'm gonna pull that exact report, 34/22. That's this one. This one is, yeah, and the car has circled the block a few times.
Okay.
These are some girls that were out jumping on their trampoline. And that one had just happened. So, about that 2 o'clock time, on the 27th. And the children had been approached by a male in the vehicle and he exposed himself to them. And it kind of made that same, the male subject arched his back in the seat, getting his hips above the windowsill. Kind of like when you accidentally did that when you're changing clothes inside. Kind of the same motion. Nailed and drove off. So that was that incident. And that was a great truck as well. Third one was June 4th. And I think that one was June 4th. I think that was like a Saturday or Sunday maybe? Sunday. Okay. At about noon, or 21 hours, male subject exposed his penis to two 10-year-old females who were riding their electric scooters. 1000 block of 17th Avenue South.
And what was it, 2000 block?
1000 block 17th Avenue South. That's right by Holy Family Church.
Yep.
You familiar with that area?
Yep.
Okay. White male, 30s, 40s, light blue shirt, some type of hat, and then some pointy type sunglasses that were had different color shades. Colorful reflection. Hair sticking out of the cap. And this vehicle was described as a red or maroon SUV type vehicle. Let me go right into that report. Two one. Let me make sure that wasn't just the reported time, that was the actual time. Yeah, so that would have been probably closer to that 11:45 to noon time, because there was some surveillance footage from Holy Family on that one.
Okay.
So that one was pretty accurate. That was two females. And then that was also the one where we had talked about that the person in that maroon SUV drove and parked by Hugo's. Remember that part? Like,
Yeah, I remember it being mentioned.
Yeah, what we talked about. Parked in the back because the girls drove around the block to try to find the vehicle, and then they found it and got freaked out and went home. So that was that specific. And then the last one was 6/8, June 8th.
That's what I got.
Yep. And that was, let's see, what was the time on that one? I had about 1600 hours, 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And that was also a gray truck. And that was a gray truck, clean, 4-door, North Dakota plates, male subject, dark hair, 30s, V-neck gray t-shirt, black sunglasses. One of the witnesses, the other one said dark gray, 4-door, white, skinny, muscular maybe, tight-fitting shirt, pointy at the bottom, sunglasses, black lenses, or black sunglasses, blue lenses, goatee. And she was 100% sure that there was a 4 in that North Dakota license plate.
What was the location of that one again?
That one was 1300 block South 18th Street. At South 18th Street and 13th Avenue South. So, sort of
13th Ave South and
South 18th Street. Yeah. So it's kind of behind a few blocks behind the Hugos, or east of the Hugos on Columbia.
Would that be on the east or west side of Washington there?
West side of Washington, between Columbia and Washington. on 13th Avenue South and South 18th.
Basically between where the old Hades was and the Hugos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. On 15th Avenue South there.
But 3 of these are all very close together. And then the one that wasn't as close would have been the one by Holy Family.
And then that was, for that one, that was that time,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was about
4 p.m. was what I read.
yeah.
Just want to make sure I have the right
The times. The A is at $1,600, 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep, newer square body gray truck. And you gotta remember these are 6 to 10, 11-year-olds, so one of the females said, dark glasses with green tints on the lenses, but I think it was a colored tint, gray t-shirt, goatee. And that one, the male said he lifted him up in the vehicle, showed both his genitals, and drove off at a high rate of speed. So the issue we're having is, obviously you matched the descriptions of all of them, you have access to all those vehicles.
Gray pickup, red SUV. Yep.
Yep. You did tell me that you hadn't drove that red SUV since winter?
No, I said I didn't recall. Well, I may have said that, but I said I didn't recall the last time.
Okay.
I drove it off the top of my head.
Okay, so do you remember driving it on June 4th then?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Your mom had told Detective Hart that you had her red SUV that weekend.
Okay.
2nd, 3rd, 4th, when they went to the lake.
Yep.
Is that common that when you
Yeah.
go to the lake, they drop a car off with you?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
On here. It's off and on.
Okay. So the 4 in the license plate is what first had you find your name.
Yep.
Because there's only so many trucks in Grand Forks, gray trucks with a 4 in the North Dakota plate.
Yep.
Okay, I narrowed that down by several, if they didn't match that description. An 80-year-old male,
Sure.
probably not gonna be able to get his hips above the windowsill, not supposed maintenance. So I eliminate that. A truck of a business, I eliminated that. Female registered owner, I eliminated that. So at the end of the day, I have a short list, and your name was on there, and drove past your house, gray truck.
Mm-hmm.
So when East Grand Forks gets the report of the white pickup, and find you driving that white pickup, that's what kind of connected the dots. So that's how we're here. Do you have anything that says you were not in Grand Forks on those dates?
Not in Grand Forks. Well, again, I define in town, at Thompson,
Sure.
East Grand Forks, and
But what I would love is you say, no, I was in Florida for vacation.
yeah.
No, I didn't have a plane ticket.
Oh, random.
Okay, so you were around the area, those time frames, okay. So now we talk about the coincidences. You say that in East Grand Forks, and you wrote your apology letter, I'm sorry to the girls that saw what they saw, it wasn't intended for them to see that. You were possibly changing clothes, and your clothes got stuck on your ankle monitor. He has an ankle bracelet for Eddie, right? Yeah. Not like a GPS tracker.
Okay.
You said that wasn't your first time changing in your car.
Correct.
That it's probably worth thinking. Probably not a great idea.
That goes without saying.
Sure. But I can't wrap my mind around that happening 4 more times in Grand Forks.
I agree.
You agree? I asked you if those little girls were lying, and you said that they probably weren't lying.
Wouldn't think so, no.
So what's that say? What are we saying here?
So Brady, if you were in our shoes, and you were sitting across from us, and we're explaining this to you, I'll be frank with you, you'd think we're full of shit. You'd think we're blowing smoke. Okay?
In this phase, the detectives become more assertive, connecting all incidents to Brady's vehicles and matching descriptions. Brady doesn't confront the accusations directly. Instead, he offers weak rationalizations, referencing changing clothes in the car or accidental exposure, due to an ankle monitor catching his pants. These are not plausible explanations, but minimization strategies designed to make the indecent exposure seem like a mishap rather than a pattern. His body language shows signs of stress, long pauses, shallow responses, and a drop in energy. However, his verbal tone remains measured. This reflects emotional dampening, likely a learned coping mechanism, indicating either chronic guilt suppression or psychological detachment from the impact of his actions. Importantly, when detectives speak about the emotional damage caused to the victims, mentioning one girl now refuses to go outside, Brady does not show appropriate emotional resonance. His response is passive and deflective. This absence of empathy, particularly when confronted with harm to others, signals affective blunting or potential narcissistic traits, where one fails to grasp or respond to the emotional reality of others.
You have access to all three of these vehicles associated with all of these complaints, right? The white pickup over in East Grand Forks, you own a gray Ford F-150, and you were driving your mom's SUV.
It was at my house, yep.
That weekend.
Yep.
So everything is lining up. You match the description, you've got a hat that matches the description, your hair, your physique, everything is matching your description. I don't think that it's a coincidence that all of these little girls are able to describe the same person. Sure. It's the same person, right? So I know that you had mentioned over in East Grand Forks that you were changing, and that's when you inadvertently exposed yourself. You said that you've done that before, where you've been driving around and you've been changing.
I had done it. It wasn't the first time.
Okay. So I just want you to put yourself in our shoes, or put yourself in a jury's shoes, and if you're listening to this, there ain't no way you're going to believe that.
100%.
Right? You're going to say, he is absolutely full of shit.
I agree.
Right? Now, there's two different ways that we can go at this, Brady. And in my experience, you are probably feeling one of two things right now. Okay?
What was that?
I said, in my experience, you are probably feeling one of two things right now.
Okay.
Okay? You are probably either really embarrassed about what has happened, or you don't give a shit. And this is just a big game to you. Okay? More than likely, it's one of those two things that you're feeling right now. Based upon the little that I know about you, Brady, I don't think that you were trying to hurt any of these girls, right? It's not like you were trying to lure them over to your vehicle and sexually abuse them, right? We have had instances of that in town. Believe it or not, there have been little girls that have been kidnapped, okay? There have been kids that have been sexually abused by adults in town. That's not what we're referring to here.
Why has that not been on the news?
It has been. It
hasn't happened this week.
This month, but it does happen. What I'm trying to get at, Brady, is that in the grand scheme of things, like we're not dealing with somebody that's trying to kidnap children. I hope not. I hope not. We don't have any missing girls reported in town here.
Right? None of these 8, 9 little girls have said that this person is trying to get them over to their car. They're simply saying that this person exposes their penis and drives off. That's what we're trying to figure out.
But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that there's no way that all of these coincidences are just lining up, right? We know that you were the person driving these vehicles, right? And these little girls, well, there's no way that we have almost 10 little girls total, right? Counting the ones in East Grand Forks and the ones in Grand Forks. There's no way that they'd be able to fabricate this or dream this up or make this up in their mind. They saw what they saw. They saw what they saw, Brady. So there's one of two ways that we can go about this, right? You can either take responsibility or accountability for what happened, or you can continue to deny your involvement in this, and you can let a jury decide whether or not you're telling the truth. Okay? But put yourself in our shoes or a jury's shoes. And if they're hearing all of this, they're hearing the descriptions of the vehicle, the description of the individual that is exposing themselves. Everything is pointing towards you, Brady, right? There's nobody else that has even remotely come close to a subject for us to look at. And I'll be honest with you, it broke things wide open when the East Grand Forks Police Department report came about, right? And they were able to identify you. And guess what? Detective Farmer went back through his list, and yep, there's that name and that vehicle comes back, and lo and behold, the red SUV, which belongs to your mom, and then you own a gray pickup, the white pickup belonging to your dad. Like, all of these things are lining up, Brady. The only thing that is not making sense to me, and probably I'll speak for Detective Farmer, is that you have no recollection of all of this. Okay? I find that very hard to believe, that you have absolutely no recollection. I find it very hard to believe. But I think that I'm just going to tell you what I think. Okay? I think, Brady, that these happened. And I believe that you were the person that exposed yourself to these girls. But why? I don't know. Okay? Only you were the person responsible and able to tell us that. Okay? I feel like you are so deep into this that you don't know what to do. Okay? And there is no way to explain your way out of this, because there is so much evidence to suggest that you are responsible. Okay? So, like I said, there's one of two ways that you can go after this, right? You can accept responsibility or accountability for what happened and say, you know what, I fucked up, I made a mistake. We're all humans. We all do stupid shit. We've all done things that we've regretted. Okay? We've all done things that we can learn from. We've been young and dumb at some point in our lives, and we've done things that we wish we can take back. Right? But what's done is done. It's in the past. Alright? Or, the other option is, we can continue going on in our lives, denying that this happened, and we can call these little girls liars, and no, they didn't see what they're reporting, they're full of it, right? It's up to you at this point, Brady, how you want to finish off this painting, right? You can put the finishing touches on it. Do you want to provide some type of reason for this happening, or are we going to have to just speculate and think, well, he's probably moving on to the next step, which is worse, right? Possibly kidnapping one of these little girls and doing something even more nefarious. But we don't know. We don't know what your thoughts are, or what's going through your mind, okay? So let us help you out. Let us help you, and help yourself out, for that matter, okay? By taking responsibility, by taking accountability, you're taking the higher road. If you're going to continue to deny all of this, like I said, look at a jury. What would a jury think? Right. They think you're full of it, right? I would imagine, you know.
So last time we talked, I told you about the one little girl that won't even go outside anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's probably many of them, but this little girl's mom told me that specifically. It would go a lot further for those parents and those little girls if they know someone's taking responsibility and apologizing for what they did and admitting that they were wrong, something stupid, rather than not. They still don't know. They don't know. Nobody's admitted to making this mistake. We would have enough to send charges over.
I don't disagree.
There's more than enough to send charges over, and in my opinion, it's a slam dunk. You put this in front of a jury, and they will, in my opinion, they'll have no issues saying, there's more than enough evidence here to suggest that Brady is the one responsible for this. So we can go at this one of two ways. All right, then you're the keeper of what happens from here forward, okay? And I know in my experience, when people have taken responsibility or accountability, I'm not saying that that's going to result in leniency. We don't make any deals. We can't make any promises.
Right.
But in my experience,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Prosecutor and the judge. But more times than not, I have seen in my experience that if someone's willing to take responsibility and say, you know what, yeah, I messed up. I'm willing to get some help. I messed up. I don't know what I was doing. Whatever the reason is. We don't know. Only the person responsible, which I believe is you, only that person knows why they were doing what they did. There.
Sometimes it helps for someone to say, yes, I need help. I don't know. I don't know what comes over me. I don't know why I did that. I might need help. And I think we talked before, it's not the crime of the century. It's a misdemeanor. It's not like we're investigating a double-A felony here. I think Detective Subi said it best. You are the one that puts the finishing touches on that painting.
Sure.
And that's why we have you in a second time. I just need some answers. I need to know so I can go back and tell these parents and these little girls, someone said they messed up. What do you think?
So what is it, Brady?
I think it might be awarded.
That's definitely...
That's certainly your option, Brady. It's certainly your option. We can't give you any legal advice.
Right.
Sure can.
Is that you saying you don't want to talk anymore?
I don't know.
Sorry if you feel like you're back in a corner. That's not our intention.
I'm hoping that you can put yourself in our shoes and anybody else's shoes like a fly on the wall here, Brady.
Yeah.
What's the latest with the East Grand Forks thing? Have they reached out to you at all?
Haven't heard of Pete.
I don't have anything to share about it either.
Well, with the rest of the information, I'd like to go over it myself.
There is one thing that I want to mention, Brady. You don't have to answer any questions, right? I'm just going to make a statement to you.
Okay.
I will assure you that a weight will be lifted off of your shoulders once you decide you want to tell the truth with what's been happening with all of these. Okay. I can assure you that it will feel like the weight of the world is off your shoulders. Yeah.
All right.
So when you are ready, or when it is time, and you are willing to confront this head on, you gotta let Detective Farmer know.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I can assure you this is gonna eat away at you. And it's gonna probably like it has been for the last several weeks.
Since the first time we met in East Grand Forks, it's been, all of it's been running through my head.
And it's not gonna get any better. It's just gonna continue to eat away at you.
We talked about a polygraph before. Is that anything you thought about?
I guess I hadn't thought about it.
Detective Subi is the one that administers those at our agency. I guess if I were in your shoes and I didn't do something like this, I'd be jumping, singing up and down to clear my name and doing anything I could to clear that.
I'd be pissed, to be honest with you. If somebody was accusing me of doing something and I had nothing to do with it, I would be pissed. I would be absolutely pissed. And that's clearly not the case with you, Brady.
So you're not very happy right now? Just in general?
Sure, there's many other places you'd rather be.
Absolutely.
My goal is to go and tell these families that this isn't going to happen again, and they don't have to be scared to go outside in Grand Forks, North Dakota. If you would agree with that.
Sure. Yeah.
For one of these girls in particular, she can't even go outside anymore without being fearful of something like this happening again. Like, no little girl, no kid should have to go through that, right? And now, to not be able to provide any answers to not only the parents, but to that little girl, and say, well, nope, nobody has stepped up and taken responsibility for what they did. That sucks for that little girl. It absolutely sucks. Right?
What's the next step?
By the final stretch, Brady exhibits classic signs of defensive shutdown. He asks for more time, avoids direct admissions, and finally mentions possibly needing a lawyer. However, his reluctance to fully disengage from the conversation suggests internal conflict. He knows he's caught, but he's not emotionally prepared to take accountability. When accused of extreme narcissism, he doesn't protest or defend his character. He simply says he hadn't heard that before. His lack of resistance to this label may reflect unconscious acknowledgement. He no longer tries to reshape the narrative, but rather avoids shaping it at all. The detectives push hard here, emphasizing the impact on victims and how a small admission could bring closure. Brady acknowledges these points, even says, "I'm trying," but still fails to accept responsibility. This is a textbook example of cognitive dissonance. He knows the evidence is overwhelming. He intellectually understands the damage done, but he emotionally disconnects to avoid internal collapse. His final statements are vague, future-oriented, and speculative. He delays closure, maybe next Wednesday, showing he's trying to control the timeline of accountability, a subtle, power retention move, even in a powerless position.
Go back over it.
Just in your head.
In my head.
Do you need more information from me, or do you think you have enough?
Is it possible that you were in these locations at these times?
That's one thing I would like to go over.
I'm not asking you if you were, but is it a possibility that you were?
I can't say no, I guess.
Okay. Is it a possibility that you would have gone through something like that happened in East Grand Forks, over on this side of the river, where you're changing in your vehicle and you had to lift yourself up and your penis may have been exposed?
Sure wouldn't think so.
Okay. But it's a possibility.
Sure wouldn't think so.
Okay.
What if we're talking about 5 times, that coincidence is to be,
I'm having a really tough time sitting over here listening to you deny all of this, Brady. There's an overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence against you, and all you are saying is, well, yeah. You don't really seem to give two licks about this.
If that's the impression I'm giving you, that's not the impression I'm trying to give off.
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's just very odd behavior. Which further, I know you were the one responsible for these 4 in Grand Forks. Okay. Brady, without a doubt, I'd bet my life on it. Okay. I'm that confident. I know that you were the one responsible for these. I just don't understand why you're not able to take responsibility for your actions. Like, that is extreme narcissism. Extreme narcissism. Meaning, you know what that means? That you don't give a shit about other people. Yeah, that's what narcissism is. You don't care about other people.
No,
you only care about
I guess
yourself.
I never heard that
Yeah. And I think
explained that way.
I am surprised at the patience that Detective Farmer has had throughout this entire investigation, and Detective Hart, for that matter, over East Grand Forks, because you are completely full of it. You are, you know exactly what happened, and you're just sitting over there claiming, well, I don't remember. I'm going to have to write this down and try to think about it. No, you know exactly what happened, Brady. You know exactly what happened. These little girls didn't lie. You did exactly what they said you did. Why you did it, only you know. And that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. Why? We know it happened. We know that you are the one that did it. Now we just need to know why. If we don't find out why, so be it. You're still going to get charged. And then the jury, it'll be in their hands. And I have all the confidence in the world that we will be able to find 12 people in this county with half a brain cell. It's not going to take them long. Sure. Okay.
1529.
And I don't, by continuing to just claim ignorance and, I don't know, I'm not sure.
I don't know if you realize I've actually had to put my neck out on the line for you. Let me explain. I'm being asked by my supervisors, why is this not done? Why have you not sent charges over? Why have you not charged this guy? Why have you not arrested this guy? And this is a small community, right?
Sure.
Okay, so maybe I know people that know you. And maybe I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt to give me some sort of explanation what's happening.
Okay.
What I'm thinking is, I'm sorry, I can't control it. I'd like to apologize to these people. My pants got stuck, whatever you said in East Grand Forks. I need something. And that's why I have given you the opportunity to keep coming in and going over this. Like, this isn't normal. I don't do that with people. They find out about the reports. After they've been charged, they're in jail, they get an attorney, and then their attorney gets the reports. So I'm trying to do as much as I can for you. I hope you understand.
Oh, well, I honestly, I didn't, because like I said, this is all brand new to me.
Since the East Grand Forks conversation.
No, just this entire process.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, you don't have a criminal history.
I've never been through this process before.
DUI, but that's nothing.
Right,
like
that's
this.
not sitting down like this.
No.
So no, I did not realize that.
This is typically not the path that I would go down as a detective.
Okay.
I would investigate it, send it, you'd be charged.
To be honest with you, Brady, he has been way more patient than I have seen with any other investigator. He's given you more chances than I would have. Right? I would have had charges forwarded over on you by now, and I wouldn't have given you a second opportunity. All right? But for whatever reason, Detective Farmer thinks that you're a decent enough person, and he thinks you've got a bright enough future where he wants to give you an opportunity. I don't know what he sees in you, but he obviously wants to give you an opportunity to explain yourself, which, like I said, is I don't quite understand it myself, but he really is sticking his neck out of the line for you.
The other half of that would be I want to go to those parents and say, I found this guy, he admits that there's an issue, he's sorry, it won't happen again. That's what I would prefer. Is that something that can happen? Can I give you a minute with paper like Detective Hart did in East Grand Forks?
I gotta get this thing close a bit. Quick touch.
I guess we're gonna mic you over this.
And that would just consist of more trying to process it and think where you were? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know how much more time I can give you.
Okay.
Fair?
Sure.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I appreciate it. It's like I said, I didn't know.
I don't go into specifics with anybody, but when I bring your name up, yeah, he's a good dude. That's what I have. And that's why I keep pushing this out longer and longer and longer. But at some point, I can't do that.
Right. I understand that.
So you're not able to tell me that was you and you're sorry.
Today, no.
I appreciate your honesty. I think you've been pretty honest with me about most things. I'm in the same boat as Detective Subi. It's just too much. That's the weight of the world on your shoulders right now, and you don't know what to do. So if it's not today, when is it? You don't have that answer, I'm sure. Do you write it instead of tell me? Was that better in East Grand Forks? Is there anything I can take to those families? I mean, they're blowing me up too.
Right.
They think they're targeted. They think that their children were specifically targeted. Do I think that? Paper, we just go our own ways. You've always been real. I certainly appreciate you talking to me. I just want you to know that my hands will be tied at some point.
Right.
This is my job, and I don't know what you think about law enforcement, but it's not what I like to do. I like to protect people, sure, but I don't like to see a good guy get charges for something they didn't do. But when the evidence is overwhelming, and he's still a good guy, that makes it really tough for me. I do think it would go a lot further for you to say you're sorry than deny. I do think that goes in our reports. And I've been in law enforcement for 17 years. That always goes much further with prosecutors and the judge than to deny and have overwhelming evidence against you.
Right.
You do not want to write something today, do you? Okay. Can you sort this out in your head by next Wednesday.
I'm gonna give it a hell of a shot.
It's gonna be to your benefit.
I believe you.
It's never made it worse, let me say that.
Sure.
I can't keep extending and prolonging it. And I'm not saying you're only at fault on that. One day you were willing to meet with me and I had a search warrant. But I gotta keep telling my bosses why this is not done. And I don't want you to feel the way that you've been feeling for the last 2 weeks. How long can you go on doing that? Very difficult to concentrate on the other things you have to concentrate on. Next Wednesday, give it a shot. Do you have anything else?
I do not.
Any questions on it? Do you want any more specifics? I think I gave you the gist of it. I think you have enough.
The gist works. That's a hell of a lot more than I had. I wouldn't have spent, the amount of time I did trying to figure out what I was on. I don't even know which day it was or which one it was, but and then to find out it wasn't that day, so anyway, here's your.
Okay, I'm going to end the interview. The time now is 15:39 hours. I appreciate it. If you have my number.
I do. If
You think of anything, if you want to chat one more time before next Wednesday, please text me.
Brady Rarick displays a consistent profile of emotional detachment, minimization, and rationalization. He avoids outright denial, favoring strategies that allow plausible deniability while maintaining control over the narrative. His failure to express empathy for child victims and repeated use of accidental framing suggests an individual with low affective empathy, possibly reinforced by underlying narcissistic defenses. His admission avoidance is not driven by ignorance, but fear. The longer he can delay acknowledgement, the longer he avoids emotional accountability. But as with most interrogations, the body language and linguistic patterns do the talking. Subscribe to Inside Evil Interrogations for more forensic deep dives like this. What do you think? Was Brady just scared? Or is this someone who knew exactly what he was doing and didn't care who got hurt? Drop your analysis in the comments.